Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini, and welcome to part 2 of the Major Arcana overview. Today we'll be talking about cards 8 through cards 14. Depending on which deck you have, that's the Strength or the Justice through the Temperance card. So I like to think of this middle group as the archetypes of growth. We saw in the previous video with those foundational archetypes that they're the framework out of which the ego, the personality, or the conscious self can emerge. And so if you think about your own experience, maybe as a younger person, or as we're growing up, going out into society, making our way through the schooling process, the acculturation, all of that, there's opportunities there to establish a sense of self. And that is, in essence, how I picture these middle cards, this second phase, the archetypes of growth. How does the personality meet its obstacles in the world? What sorts of abilities do we need to develop? What sorts of discernment? What sorts of inner and outer attributes do we need to develop, enhance, access, as we're trying to move through the world, trying to make things happen in our life? So the establishment of the ego is an important part of development. And how does the ego move through the world, the personality move through the world, and get things done, get where you want to go? Let me see. Let me also say that I didn't comment on the first video, but it's a point that needs to be made here, even though we're doing a very quick overview, and that is that all cards have positive and negative aspects. We talked about this quite a bit in the minor arcana overview, and it's true with the majors as well. All cards can be very positive and useful in certain circumstances, and very negative, detrimental, harmful in other circumstances. The major arcana are not necessarily good or bad like any other tarot card. They have a 360-degree circle of influence. And so if it comes to mind as I'm talking about them, I'll pop it out there. But these are the sorts of things you can find in the longer videos that are available on the Tarot Works site. I think that's it. So let's see what we have on the tarot table today. The middle phase, the archetypes of growth. Okay, here are our subjects for today. Now, depending on the deck that you have in card number 8, you could have the Justice or the Strength card. So I tend to put these at the same point on my conceptual diagram of the major arcana. Now we're going to see, actually let me make them go like that. This is more in line with that conceptual diagram. We see movement here. It's not just a straight shot. Remember that the previous card over here is the Chariot. Here's the personality saying, okay, let's go, let's meet life, let's see what we can make happen. So these next group are going to talk about aspects of growth, things that the personality meets as we try to be out in the world and create a life of our own design. So I'm going to talk about the Strength and the Justice at the same place, and we'll start with the Strength card. This is a card of inner struggles and the difficult task of integrating a new experience. We see the challenges which promote new ways of being and an attempt to balance certain aspects. This lion and this woman are trying to come to terms with one another. So the Strength card is about an inner dynamic and an inner struggle. The Justice, whereas the Strength card is kind of visceral, the Justice is very linear and very intellectually based. Justice is about knowing what is true and the impartiality of the truth. It's about fairness, objectivity, laws, morals, what we might, in air quotes, call right. What is the right thing to do? We might also get legal matters as an obvious connection with that Justice card. So sort of an intellectual balance trying to happen with the Justice, and a more energetic, visceral, kind of in my gut inner dynamic trying to achieve balance with the Strength card. We move into the Hermit card. This is a card, card 9, of self-reliance, of inner wisdom, the path towards self-knowledge. It can be about isolation, but really the benefit of quietude, the benefit of having solace, the benefit of retreat, and being on the path of the individual. The Hermit is very much the awareness that we all have a unique, specific path on which we walk. The Wheel, I guess when I talk about this card, I don't use that fortune word because it implies things that have to do with money. It's really about the wheel of change. So the wheel is about the inevitability of change. We can only go a certain point with our own devices, and then timing and cycles comes in and forces us into a new period in our life. So the wheel is about endings and new beginnings, the effects of destiny, karma, and fate, and matters being influenced by timing. Timing often, either makes or breaks the situation. And if the wheel is working for you, the wind is at your back. And if timing says forget about it, you might as well forget about it. You can see that after the wheel, things start to move into a downward path. And on the conceptual diagram, this means we are moving from consciousness into the unconscious. We are moving into the place where we have less and less control. The Hangman. This is a card that really implies the need for patience. It's the suspension of willpower. It's a willingness or being forced to be on the sidelines and watching how matters unfold without us getting in the game, so to speak. Let's see. Yeah, the wisdom of hanging back, we could say. There's lots of puns with that Hangman card. Eventually, like fruit ripening on the tree, we pass the period of ripeness and we move into a period of composting. And that's what the Death card's about. The Death card, as we continue this movement into the unconscious, into the place of less knowing. The Death card is about a personal change, a profound change, the loss of something with which we are identified. It's the end of an era and a time of potential for personal renewal. So the Death does require that we let go of certain things. We let go of certain ways of thinking about what our life is, who we are, what was our place in our life. The Death is not an end, it's an ending to some degree, but make note that it's card 13 out of 22. It is not the final word. It is not the end of the end, so to speak. Out of the Death, out of 13, comes card 14. This is a movement toward new growth. Sometimes that card is called the Healing Angel, another card of patience, and another card of timing. This might imply forgiveness. It might imply some sort of artistic endeavor. Crowley does call that card art, and he's talking really about the art of self-renewal. It's the awareness of divine timing in all matters and a willingness to float along with things, to be flexible, to be open to the way that the river wants to run in your life. So you can see that those cards do create an opening for some fairly significant changes on the other end. And those are the cards that we will talk about in the next phase, the Archetypes of Transformation. Keep in mind that all cards have positive and negative aspects, and that if you'd like to look at things further in further depth, you can always check out the Tarot Works videos on the Tarot Works website. But we will see you next time for those Archetypes of Transformation.